everybody, it's Shannon Hipson here, and I have recently got a lot more friends lately. A lot of people have been adding me, and I've been adding people, and I got inspired tonight by my friend Rachel Hart, who's also a coach, and I wanted to share some of my truth and just continue to spread the love and light. And essentially how I got started with coaching stems really back from when I was 19, because when I was 19 years old, I knew I wanted to help people. I always kind of knew I wanted to help people, but I didn't really know what to do. And I, at that point, went through a lot of stuff, as we usually do in our 20s, and I had a severe alcoholic problem. I had severe problems with drugs, and growing up in an alcoholic home and my parents splitting when I was just 12 years old, I mean, that really propelled me on my self-destructive journey and into becoming the person that I am today, because I didn't have any self-worth back then. I didn't really, I always had to be the life of the party, and I always had to drink to be comfortable with myself, to be happy with myself. And that really propelled me into finding myself and being on this journey. And eventually, it just got to a point in my life when I was lost. I was completely lost. I really wasn't too happy with my life, and I just felt like my life was stale and I was at a standstill. And it was a really good friend of mine, actually, who recommended a coach. I had really never heard of a life coach before and didn't really know what life coaching was all about. And she had helped my friend, and so I said, well, what do I got to lose at this point? So I messaged her and ended up going through and having her as my coach for a few months, and it really was life-changing at that point. And at the same time that she became my coach, I seen this movie by Dr. Wayne Dyer called The Shift, and that really propelled me at the same time between that movie and watching her coaching and reading Eckhart Tolle about being in the present moment and mindfulness. That's what really propelled me to be like, oh my goodness, this is what I want to do, because I'm a type of person that I tend to give. I just naturally give and give and give, and I want others to be happy. I genuinely can't stand when somebody is suffering. I will reach out to them and I will try to comfort them any way that I can, because that's just who I am naturally as a helper. And going through this coaching process, that's really what, got the light bulb to go off and really showed me to myself that, this is what you should be doing with your life. And my life coach at the time, she's like, Shannon, honestly, this is exactly what you need to be doing. You're truly a natural at it. And she built up my confidence to a point that, between that and seeing the movie and learning about law of attraction, what you put out there, you attract. And at the time, I wasn't attracting anything good in my life. I was just attracting negative, negative, negative. And so I got stuck with a bunch of bullshit. And that movie really changed my life. And so did my life coach, Deb. And really propelled me to look into mindfulness, and why I believe mindfulness and self-love are so, so, so important in this day and age is just like my friend Rachel said. We are made up, all the humans in the world contribute to the world's consciousness. So if everybody's sad, then the world's just going to be a miserable place. And what we're putting out there is being attracted to us. And so really, we all need to look at not living in the past and not looking at the future too much, because that is what causes anxiety, and comparing ourselves to others. That is what the whole self-love piece is about, because when you love yourself unconditionally and you don't judge and criticize yourself and you don't compare yourself to others, well, at that point, you truly love yourself. But if you're in a place where you're always criticizing yourself and you're putting yourself down and comparing yourself to others, then you're being negative towards yourself. And I know what that feels like. I've been there myself. I mean, growing up in the household that I did and being in an alcoholic home, I never really learned concepts of, loving myself. I learned how to abuse myself more than anything. And when you truly love yourself and you're in the present moment, not letting any outside sources affect you, well, that's what is bringing the consciousness to the world. So mindfulness is so important because it's simply just observing how you feel. It's not judging it. It's not criticizing it. It's not comparing it to anybody else's. It's just saying, okay, well, that's how I feel. Now, why do I feel this way? And become curious about it, but do not judge it. And mindfulness is becoming more and more like, I even was in the Shoppers Drug Mart store the other day, and I seen a magazine cover that said the science of mindfulness. Like, science is catching on to mindfulness and the benefits and effects of it. I mean, it truly helps people and gets them out of a state of depression and anxiety. Now, I'm not saying it's going to work for everybody, because I know some people do need medication, and I'm not knocking that whatsoever, but I'm saying that a lot of the shit that we have going on in our lives simply could be addressed, and we could be living much happier, healthier lives if A, we don't shove the shit down and not deal with it, B, learn how to address, get concepts in our life like mindfulness and self-love techniques, so that we can just let things be and not judge ourselves and criticize ourselves, and C, take the time to really deal with some of the stuff that's going on inside of us. I mean, so many people, when I talk to them about self-love, they tell me all the stuff, the negative stuff that they think about themselves, or, the criticizing that they do, but then they don't do anything about it. They just let it fester and fester and fester. And then eventually it gets to a point when you're like a volcano and you're just erupting and you can't take it anymore, and you're just going, and screaming at the world. But the thing is that there is love and light that can be brought into our lives if we simply work at these things, if we simply address what's going on and not shove it down, and adopt some mindfulness and self-love into our lives. And that's why I've, really, after going through all the shit that I've gone through, have decided to dedicate my life to coaching others. And I mean, I could have been a health coach, I could have been a wellness coach, I could have been a business coach, I could be all the different types of coaches in the world that are, there's so many people out there doing the same thing. I could be one of them, but I chose not to. This is one of the hardest types of coaching to be a part of, because people don't want to address what they're going through. That's the hard part. But once you start working with somebody and addressing these things, that's when you're going to get more happiness in your life. But you've got to get there. You've got to stop repressing the shit. You've got to get there. So I just felt like putting this out there and letting you know that, the world needs to be a happier place, and we can get there, but we need to just work at it. And I mean, if this resonates with you and you're tired of just trying to figure your stuff out on your own, and you're just not getting anywhere, and you're just frustrated and depressed and have anxiety, and you're not happy, and no matter what you do, you're just not getting there, then PM me. I mean, who knows? I mean, even if I'm not the right coach for you, at least you're taking steps to look into it. At least you're doing something about it. And I mean, I have resources, and I know a bunch of coaches that I can, if I'm not the one to work with you, I can still help you in some way. So I hope that you take the time and PM me, and if above anything, look into mindfulness practices, look into self-love practices, and if you want to talk further about it, you know where I am. I'm on Facebook, and I'd love to talk with you, and I truly hope you have a blessed night.